start here. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says government is working tirelessly to fix Eskom and the country's power stations. Ramaphosa says it's vital to improve the performance of existing power stations.
Now, many people often say that with these renewable energy processes, we are wanting to move away from coal. 80% of our energy is generated from coal-fired power stations. And we've just built 2 big ones right now, which generate almost 10,000 megawatts. And even as we've been entering into all these discussions, which I'll come to, on just energy transition, I have made it clear even to those that I meet either on the international platforms. I've said there is just no way at all in South Africa that we can go and shut down the coal-fired power stations we have. There's just no way. No way for us to go and shut down Milupi and Kusile. Yes, there are power stations that are aging, comrades. We must face the reality. There are those that are old, that are 43 years old. On average, our power stations are 43 years old. And they are aging. Now, many people often say, continue running them. And other places do run them. They become very expensive. Expensive to maintain, expensive to run. And so those power stations now need to be retired. But as we retire them, we've come up with a new concept that instead of retiring all of them, you retrofit them, you repurpose them. So in our case, what we've been aiming to do is to improve right now the performance of existing power stations. And as I said, 80% of them are coal. And the other objective is to add new capacity. To add new capacity, and when we come to adding new capacity to address the current crisis, we are saying, yes, we are going to look at renewables. Renewables, there's a lot of great opportunity and new industries that are being opened. For instance, in the Northern Cape is well endowed when it comes to the sun and the wind, as well as the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. These are new, technologically advanced sources of energy that we can utilize. So that's why we embarked on an IPP, Independent Power Producer Program, which for the Northern Cape has brought in almost 200 billion rand worth of investments in a number of areas, and jobs are being created, and we're now moving to new technologies to generate electricity. And the other sources of energy obviously are wind, and the other sources are gas. And we're now saying we need to bring more capacity, because as I've often said, we are short of 6,000 megawatts. We need to get 6,000 megawatts to add to the megawatts that we have. In the past, one of the problems, comrades, that we had was that over time, we did not maintain our power stations. And in fact, we went through a period at Eskom where the word that was issued was, don't maintain, just run the power stations and keep the lights on. You might have heard this dictum that was issued. What would to keep the lights on, particularly as we went to 2010. So staff at Eskom just kept the lights on, and maintenance did not take place. Now what we are reaping today is that many of the plants that were not properly maintained, and it was not only not being properly maintained, the funding for maintaining them was also not made available. So we move from coal, which is base load for that power station. We then move to gas in that power station. And so it is being retrofitted, and we make sure that it becomes a just transition process, that the community around the power station do not lose their livelihoods as far as we possibly can, and the workers also do not lose their livelihood. The workers are retrained to be able now to work with a gas-fired power station. And gas becomes a very important source of energy for us, and I'll come back to that in a minute, because it contributes to the base load. It helps us to generate energy. It's much cleaner than coal. So what we've been saying is 80% of our generation is coal. And yes, we've got to have a hybrid. We've always said in our energy plan that we're going to have a mixed form of energy. We're going to have coal, we're going to have hydro, we're going to have gas, we're going to have nuclear, which we have, we're going to have wind, and we're going to have sun, and we will also have a biogas. So that is the mixture of energy sources that we have committed ourselves to. But at the moment, what we now have is 80% coal-fired. And we've built 2 brand new power stations, and for which we spent double the amount of money that we had budgeted. In one case, we had said we would pay 62 billion. We ended up paying double that amount of money. The other one, we said we would spend 72 billion. We've ended up paying 142 billion.